Little yellow dots. They swarm into the meadow with great excitement, unloosed from the classroom, paraded as a crocodile through town to go look at nature in the raw. Each child wrapped in bright yellow, fluorescent, bright nylon jackets that bounce back the hot July sun, keeps them visible. 4 teachers and a squadron of primary school kids, water bottles emblazoned with superheroes deposited in the shade of 2 benches. "Remember which is yours," says Mr. Johnson. Even the clatter. Over the clatter, but he's not really that bothered about the 5 Spider-Man bottles, all the same, nor the 3 identical Barbies. He's more concerned about the green glass one that reads Gordon's on its label. It's obviously Gordon's. After the briefing and handing out the see what you can find sheets, each child is let free, and they scatter like organised shrapnel into busy little groups. Busy little yellow dots all over the meadow. Some stick to the neatly mown paths, while others dive into the natural tangle of growing pasture. Annual meadow grass and cocksfoot, fescues and crested dogtails. The children's pieces of paper won't be nearly big enough to record everything around them. "Sedges have edges, rushes are round, grasses are hollow, so what have you found?" sings out Miss Smith in her smug, theatrical primary teacher tone that impresses some of the children and makes her colleagues think what a smart-ass Mrs. Smith is. Actually, Mr. Johnson knows what a smart-ass Miss Smith has, dressed in her flattering, breezy summer mini-dress. But that's another story. The dots in his eyes are getting worse. Worse in that he sees more and more of them on more and more frequent occasions. It used to be only when his eyes were shut, but now it happens open or shut. At first it was like tiny flies buzzing at him, and he tried to swat them away. But there was nothing to swat. He quickly adapted to the situation and learned to look through the invasion. A cool, dark room does the trick, and he often sits in the basement with the blinds down. It's safe and cool down there, almost subterranean, out of the way. He keeps his guns in the basement. He likes to get them out, take them apart, oil them up, put them back together again. That comforting whiff of gun oil seems to permeate his own thinking cogs, puts a thin film on their turning mechanisms, soothes their relentless jerky progress. He sits and rubs his face with his hands and thinks, rubs and thinks. Like dreams, there is no brilliant, vivid, discernible colour to the dots. If he had to describe them, he'd probably say that everything he sees is pretty much in colour, and the dots are black and white interlopers. They transubstantiate from supporting artists to principal cast when his eyes shut, or when the darkness around him prevents him from establishing form. In this way, he determines fact from fiction. But then today, even with the familiar smell, the differential has gone. The dots are yellow. "Butterfly!" shrieks one infant, causing a squealing stampede towards the trembling brace of cabbage whites. The morning's nature experience is underway, and the sun also climbs, and not far away in the long grass on a bank lies the sniper. His telescopic sight, with its hairline cross, zooms in on one of the little yellow dots, and he squeezes the trigger. Mr. Johnson thinks that Zoe has simply tripped in her excitement at trying to discover an ant. "Get up, please, Zoe," he says, walking towards her. But she doesn't, can't. The next round brings down Mr. Johnson, and he falls heavily right next to where Zoe lies dead. On a very bright, hot, summer Tuesday morning, with bullets flying in a country 1,500 miles away from this quiet English country town, no one expects an assassin to be lying in wait, prone in the long grass, waiting for some target to appear. A trembling cabbage white strokes the end of his gunmetal barrel, then thinks better of it and moves on. Little yellow dots is what the madman sees, what he aims at. Bobbing yellow wild flowers to be harvested. Precious little lives, cut short, scarred forever. Little yellow dots turned